I want to start by asking Anand Ranganathan why he thinks that the BJP should have actually stood up for Nupur Sharma and for Naveen Kumar Jindal, and why do you think they've done the wrong thing by taking action against their spokespersons?
Good evening. Being being tolerant is not a weakness. Bowing before the intolerant is. So there are two issues here, one philosophical, the other political, and let me delve into them one by one. First up, let us be very clear. This government has thrown its own Nupur Sharma to the wolves. The Islamists only asked it to bend, and it chose to crawl. And to be crawling in front of despotic regimes that don't value freedom, leave alone freedom of speech. Iran, that issued fatwa against Salman Rushdie. Qatar, that has no freedom of speech or expression, that issued citizenship to M.F. Hussain, who drew naked and copulating Hindu goddesses. And inexplicably, no one from the government to the rabble-rousing accusers has explained why Nupur quoting what is derived from revered Islamic scriptures, Sahih Bukhari 5134 and Sunan Nasai 3378, constitutes blasphemy. The least the government could do was to confront the jihadis by asking them to quote the said verses. Instead, they claimed what Nupur said was derogatory. So the revered hadiths are derogatory. Rahul, we have known this for ages, and not for nothing do I keep saying that we are a banana republic from the moment we became a republic. We have known that none of our governments stand up for free speech. Congress, BJP, TMC, CPI, you name it. They have stomped on it. Remember how Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, on the floor of our parliament, demanded an apology from Denmark for the Prophet cartoons. But what disgusts me here is the hypocrisy of these pretend liberals. This diabolical cult supported Salman Rushdie even though his satanic verses called the Prophet PDUH false. His companions bums, Allah a destroyer, Makkah a jahiliya. They stood with Charlie Hebdo journalists who did exponentially worse against the Prophet. But these so-called Voltaire worshippers won't stand with Nupur. Why? And as for moderate Muslims, I'm afraid, if at all such a term exists, its myth has exploded now. Muslim journalists, activists, actors, intellectuals are openly dog whistling, calling for Nupur's arrest and worse. They are even retweeting Taliban's condemnation of her. Now to the second point, Rahul, very quickly, politics. It is also a fact that every nation sacrifices freedom of expression of citizens, its own or of the nation it is investing in, at the altar of business interests. Europe and America have mastered this hypocrisy. Their companies operate in despotic regimes after agreeing to civilly compromise on human rights and FOS. It is a case that we have to be wise and think it through till the time we can afford to not deal with dictatorships that provide us oil, minerals, jobs. There is a way out. I'll just 30 seconds. Let me explain. Right now, there are 60 nations out of 200 or that qualify as functioning democracies. Call them T60 if you will. What will force dictatorships to become democracies? What will force 140 nations to establish rule of law and freedom enjoyed by D60? Not being able to trade with D60. Yes, to trade exclusively with D60 might appear impossible now, but we must plan for it. Did we trade with apartheid South Africa for 40 years? At that time, one of the richest economies? No, even though America did. So, to cut a long story short, it is always a Galileo and gas. Right now, we have discarded Galileo and opted for gas. But for how long? Only we.
And Ranganathan, that concerns you that a new line has been drawn in the sand next time because domestic political parties don't seem to be able to apply too much pressure. There will be an international chorus, countries getting together, trying to put pressure on the Modi government and acting through the back door, and this could be a new precedent?
No, absolutely. I think it is an inflection point in more ways than one, nationally as well. Let me explain. What my dear the previous panelist just said, I'm afraid I disagree because we keep saying that, just beating ourselves, saying that we are China, we don't, cower down to China. Well, China, 48 to 49% of Chinese oil or imports comes from the Middle Eastern countries. And 5 million Chinese are employed there, roughly the same as Indians are. And yet, China is not going to be dictated to by the 27 or how many Islamic nations there are on the plight of Uyghur Muslims. China has interned them in concentration camp, 1.5 million Uyghur Muslims. China is sterilizing them on a mass scale. China is feeding them pork. And what happens? Does China listen to the Arab countries? No. We listen. Who were backstabbed by the Arab when they all sided with Pakistan. And as far as the Congress spokesperson is concerned, I humbly
reiterate my challenge again, sir. You happen to be a Muslim.
Can you please tell me what Sahih Bukhari 5134 and Sunan Nasai 3378 verses are before you allege that Nupur blasphemed? And number two, can you please tell me, when you're saying that this is all BJP muddying the water with bigotry and all, can you tell me who Ramakrishna Jalami was? I'll give you a hint. He was a Congress leader who said Parashuram was a rapist. Where is he right now? Image BJP is trying to save, because come what may, howsoever much virtue signaling they do, they are still going to be called fascist and Sanghi. So let's get this straight. It is a cop-out, it's a cowardly act. I told you earlier, I, as a free speech absolutist, I don't believe in this dictum of Gerald Ford that you can buy any color Model T as long as, even, you know, you can have complete freedom of speech of expression as long as you don't criticize some person or some prophet. No, I don't believe in that. Either it's one or two. That's why please go around the panel and ask all those people who are criticizing Nupur, will they stand up with Charlie Hebdo journalist and Salman Rushdie? But they won't stand up with someone who is criticizing something, but there also a distinction is being made. They will stand up with Salman Rushdie, but publicly they will not say that we stand up with Charlie Hebdo journalist.
Okay.
This is hypocrisy. If we expose it, it's fine. Let's be honest with ourselves and move on, yeah. It's fine.
Chalo ji.